Hello, fellow engineering hooligans! Who's ready for another engineering review of another engineered masterpiece? I am Dublong, your engineer of the day. Today we're going to be discussing the Missile Truck 4 made by Railgun Awesome. It has a cost of 409,358 materials, a volume of 30,305 meters cubed, a firepower of 292.49, all missile, and 38% armor cost. It also moves at 69 meters per second. Nice. And it comes with a spotter on top of all of that, which, believe it or not, its job is to spot stuff. Why it has detection outside of its armor is beyond my guess. But a word of advice, you can just attach detection equipment to wireless receivers. This will allow you to bury detection equipment underneath metal. Oh, who am I kidding? It's my advisory brain getting advisory all over again. I should explain why I'm doing this. Railgun Awesome is a underappreciated YouTuber, an underrated figure in the FTD sphere, and I'm all about uplifting creators, I guess, says the person with 30 subscribers. I'm also working on building a missile frigate, and I figured that it would be interesting to take a look at how other people are building ships to see what I can learn from them. This does appear to be a very different approach, but as I'm sure you know, my favorite quote of all time is, "I cannot say whether this is good or bad, so I will just say it is valid and that I build things differently." Anyways, I suppose we should start with the subsystem overview. Up front we have ammo, 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 so much ammo, tons of ammo. I have words to say about whether this is reactive safe ammo storage and whether this is the optimal setup, but instead I will just make it explode and see how, I guess, it reacts. Ha, get it? Reaction. Remember when they tried to copyright the word reaction? I don't. Where's the ammo? Is it not? Okay, time to stop guessing. The ammo is located right under all of this armor, on the belly of the ship, which I thought I was destroying, but I didn't see any ammo there. There it is. No reaction. Light work, no reaction. Okay, is it over here? Where? Oh. Okay, that entire frontal column just blew itself up. It appears that sometimes metal is enough to protect itself from touching off, but other times it just explodes. You got some ammo here. In this case, it was fine. This, I admit, do not quite understand, but now there's a giant hole in our ship. I suppose I shall use this time to briefly shell out my own ammo. To shell out my own ammo setup, except it's not my own ammo setup. I am shelling out the ammo setup used by the Jewel, which is a prefab, not a sub-object. I don't know if this works the best, but I do know that the Hypernova uses this, and it's a very nice ammo system. Bunch of 4-meter beams, poles actually, and then a bunch of triangles on the top. And you can secure 2 big ammo boxes in that. Very nice. Now then, moving further back, we have hydrofoils. This thing uses tons of simple hydrofoils, because it's a hydrofoil, presumably. I guess we gotta see it move before we make any judgments on that. Then, of course, we have the missiles. Oh, we have so many, and they're not even on sub-objects, so I have to wonder how in the world do these things launch? Oh, I think they launch upwards. I never quite figured out how to make them launch upwards, actually. Where is that controlled? Oh, elevation. It's ejected 90 degrees from the launch pad, and because presumably this launch pad is facing directly forwards, it's going to point straight up and shoot them out this way. At least, I presume that's how this is going to work. We shall see. Next up, then, we have a bunch of empty space over here. I mean, you don't need to put blocks over it, but also blocks may help. However, I will say, this entire thing is made out of aligned 4-meter beams, which makes refitting really easy. So, nice job, Railgun Awesome, in that regard. Oh, what's this? This is aligned, but the missile banks aren't aligned. They're misaligned by 1 block. Oh, the humanity. It's not that bad. Anyways, the missiles themselves are remote-guided, shaped charge missiles. Small ones. But they have a very nice material per firepower of 592. Of course, this is going to go up as we use more and more resources, because you're paying relatively high for missiles. every single time you launch one. These have 2 fins, 3 fuel tanks, remote guidance, APN guidance though, so let's see. We actually have 4 fuel tanks, 5 explosive warheads, and a shaped charge. It is remote guided, and it can last 40 seconds. I'm curious why Railgun also decided to use mediums instead of larges. Perhaps it was to make things more maneuverable. I understand that the Raven's Nest used a lot of mediums, and that thing will really mess you up if you don't have really good missile defenses. But I think you can get the same results with larges, although do not quote me on that. I have not tested this with my new large missiles yet, having them hit nimble moving targets. Next up, we have the AI data center powering this entire thing. 129 processing power. We only need 2 for the... Wait, 2? We only need 2 for detection? Oh, I guess it's because we have a spotter detecting for us. Yep, a ton of detection stuff, and it is all isolated because it is built on top of a piece of rubber. Although I have to wonder how much we've got. 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 metal beams protecting our mainframe from total destruction on the top, which concerns me a slight bit. We don't have very much armor on the mainframe despite having 38% armor cost. Armor is weird like that. If you don't deliberately choose where to put your armor, it kind of just... the budget disappears. Like a lot of budgets. Yes, budgeting. Anyways, moving further back, we have also some turbo engines. These have a neat 750 power, 749 power per material at 10 power per volume. Now, of course, you may hear me hammer and holler about how you can take this prefab, go over here, go to the 3-cat fuel platform on Steam and use the 3-cat turbo cube for 749 power per material and 40 power per volume, but I have said that too many times. At this point, maybe I should just give a link to that, honestly. Side note, you have superchargers here, but superchargers are not very effective at maximum RPM. Turbochargers are, so these may be redundant. Although you do get a power per material bonus right now. How many power per material are we getting right now? 772. But to be fair, we are also using almost no power. We're at 20% power. 20% power draw? Are we using 20% power? We're only using 700 power total. And we're... okay, we have a couple of... Yeah, we have 700 power used by propellers just to keep us afloat, I think. No, this is running in reverse. It's pulling us... no, it is... is it... sorry, is this pulling us down or up? No, okay, so if it's forward, it'd be this way. So yeah, it is pulling us up. Okay, this thing relies on propellers briefly in order to keep itself afloat. Interesting. We also have some jets over here. Presumably, these are what's giving us the 69 meters per second. They are very efficient jets. 19,000 thrust per material, which is very high. The inefficient ones get about half that. I unfortunately have not memorized what good values are for thrust per volume, or what I should be looking at in terms of upfront cost up here. Because I imagine it'd be quite different, because compressors have a quarter of the cost of combustors, but it doesn't even tell you how much extra thrust or fuel consumption each of those adds. Okay, compressors don't add any fuel consumption, but it doesn't tell you how much more powerful each one of those makes your engine. Next up, then, we have a bunch of radiators connected to an injector brick. This thing uses 436 power per material at 53 power per volume. Which, yeah, I do not know how to optimize fuel engines, so I'm not going to pretend to be knowledgeable here, unfortunately. But, I mean, you can't spam them everywhere. A turball is 5x5x5. And this is, well, it's 2x3 in some places. So it was just kind of shoved into the back of this ship. Now then, that's the entirety of the ship, but perhaps we should talk about armor, since we are making pretty good time on this. Let's turn the forces off and start our cutaway. We'll start from we'll start from top to bottom, just to make things interesting. Man, I do not like the Z fighting that goes on when you do the cutaway views Brilliant Skies, please set your offsets to not cut straight through 2 blocks and make them try and show up at once. It's kind of nauseating. So, over here, at face value, it looks like we have tons and tons and tons of armor over here. I'm actually curious, how much armor is just sequestered in this entire compartment? Actually, how much armor is protecting 2 pieces of ammo? Because we can compare that directly with the Hypernova one by Jewel. Move this up. Let's see. Oh, that is a ton of armor. Let's save that and take a look. Ammo boxes. Railgun Awesome. Ammo box. X2. This costs 2,050 materials, which is actually 5 times the blocks and twice the cost of the heavy armor setup. Now, I wouldn't have intuited that. That is very interesting. A metal block is 20 materials for a 4-meter beam, and a heavy armor block is 100, so it's 5 times that. And we've got tons and tons of metal beams interspersed in the middle of this vehicle. Personally, I would try and design my craft like a giant bubble, where essentially you have a bunch of metal skin on the outside and all of your juicy bits on the inside. The only place where I have middle armor is when I have armored bulkheads separating compartments. That's just my strategy, though. I'm not going to judge what other people do. I would say, though, you should probably have heavy armor on your AI and your engines. At the very least. But yeah, we have very, very thick frontal armor. We have alloy, metal beam slope, and metal beam on the sides, which matches about the armor that was on the official Discord guide and the From Depths Wiki GG for a 100,000 to 200,000 material craft. And let's see, where else do we have tons and tons of armor? Well, that's the floor, obviously. We have tons of armor there. We have multiple floors. How thick is this floor? Let's cut left and right and see. So, we have a bunch of 4-meter thick bulkheads. Nothing is getting through those bulkheads, I'm sure. We have a bunch of empty space on the bottom, which I guess, to be fair, if you're launching missiles upwards, you can't put them too low. You could shove the AI down here, though. Might be a bit more well protected. Then, of course, you have the ammo that is positioned down here. Under tons of armor. More heavily armored than the heavy armor ammo boxes we just saw. And, of course, I forgot to mention we have a water propeller at the... Water propeller? Wait, water propeller? Is this thing supposed to be underwater or above the water? Let's take it for a test drive and see, because this confuses me slightly. Also, this one just... These jet engines are producing 20% thrust. For me, I would recommend putting them slightly offset back here. Anyways, I think it's time. We made this thing dual something. Let's throw it at a Kitakami. Oh, look at that. Missiles on the way. And it's a moving. Oh. Missiles incoming, and oh snap, massive damage from the shape charges. You can see its signature move, the missiles fly out of the water, and then have another pass at it. Although, I didn't get to see torpedoes incoming from the Penguin, by the way. No significant damage yet. Here come more missiles. I will admit, that looks very cool. Oh, it's a front-sider. I guess its behavior pattern makes a lot more sense now. Kitakami can't stop all those missiles. Its particle cannon is down. Unless the Kitakami can come in with its missile volleys, I think the missile boat's going to win this. One some weakness, of course, you can't guard the gauges from above. But is it worth it for that aura farming missile volley? I'll let you decide. Speaking of which, I want to know if this thing actually has all the processing power needed to run this entire thing. Right now it's working at 74%. But that's partially because something got into the AI data center. Okay, but what? I don't think the Kitakami has shape charges, which, to be fair, shape charges would go straight through this armor because it doesn't have any air gaps up here. Maybe swap some of that out for metal beam slopes. Okay, it looks like something, maybe the particle cannon, shot all the way through and grazed the egg compartment, which is now disconnected. Alright, I see. More missiles coming in. Yeah, they're landing hits. How many of these missiles are actually hitting, I would like to know. Maybe the missile controller has some info on this. That's a staggered fire add-on. Ah, here it is. 32%. We are landing a quarter, a third of our missiles. I think we get those numbers up. How do we get those numbers up, though? Does this thing have APN guidance? It does, and it has remote guidance. So I'm not sure what's making it so twitchy. Is it because the remote guidance, the APN is... No, the gain is at 2, which is a reasonable amount. How's the spotter doing? Oh, the spotter's dead. When did that happen? That is probably at least partially why we're jittering so much. We have very low averaging times. We have only 2 different pieces of detection equipment to shoot at, to aim our missiles for them to shoot at the enemy right now. That would probably be the thing causing the problem. But I will say, specializing in one single massive damage source and shaped charged missile at that, and just spraying them all over the surface of your enemy to snipe turrets, does appear to be very effective, in principle. It certainly thrashed a Kitakami, which is something that some of my craft worth 400,000 materials cannot do. I do want to know, though, what happens to the missile truck? Spotter. Saving it. Destroying all vehicles. Let's run that back one more time. Alright, spotter, go. It's spotting. How accurate can it spot? 6 meters away. Well, these are 360 IR cameras. Why these aren't trackers? Again, I don't know. We don't have very many trackers here, actually. Okay, we have, yeah, averaging of 2 meters error per target. It's just vibing here. Okay, looks like it survived a decent time this time. Speaking of which, I also want to know... Oh, the propellers got shot off. I suppose that's a risk in this setup. How do these... Okay, I see. Essentially, you have the hydrofoils going up when moving forwards and the other direction when you're going backwards to constantly keep you out of the water. Curious. Although, doesn't that mean that it doesn't actually offer any input when you're not going forwards or backwards? I feel like maybe having them respond to going up instead might be better. They're basically the same thing. You have them tilt 45 degrees when you're going up, and the other direction when you're going backwards. Spotter is still alive. I guess a lucky shot from the Kitakami might have just disabled it. Although saying that, Kitakami can't shoot back with his particle cannons right now because they're disabled. Man, those shaped charged missiles really do a massive amount of damage, though. Well then, I think I thoroughly underestimated this thing. Does it have protocols for... Yeah, it's recalling the spotter now. I thoroughly underestimated the missile boat. It's actually quite a force to be reckoned with. We could do more combat testing, but I feel like the strengths and weaknesses of this craft have been made pretty clear. You could say that there's a couple of spots for optimization, but that doesn't mean that this thing isn't a mean machine. With that, though, I think that's all for this episode of From This Craft Reviews. I have been Dubelong, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good evening.